Yes, one thing is there. Student and faculty were associated with result only. So actually, I will tell you. And more, see what is the first thing that strikes you seeing this diagram? Anyone? When you see this diagram for the very first time, what is the first thing that strikes you? It's complicated. Yes. What I told you in the use case diagram in the very first class, a use case diagram has to be simple. This diagram looks very complicated in the first step itself. The user will, if he will show this diagram to your client, he will take all his money and he will just run away कि बेटा तुमसे ना हो पाएगा. अगर डायग्राम ही इतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड यू आर ट्राइंग टू मेक, व्हाट सॉफ्टवेयर you will design, right? So the very first thing that comes here, automatically your 3 to 4 marks are deducted out of 10 marks seeing complicated diagram like this. I have told you in the very first class, a use case diagram, complicated diagrams we will make. We will start reading the class diagrams, you will see the complications. But a use case diagram has to be very, very simple and it should represent your whole system also. Next thing, what is this arrow coming from top to bottom? What is this relationship? If you see this part, what is this arrow coming down? Ye kya hai? I have told you association between an actor and a use case. I have told you include. I have told you exclude. And I have told you generalization or inheritance. तो ये arrow क्या है? Tell me what is this arrow? अरे बता तो दिया इधर. What is this arrow? This. Tell me. Inheritance, right? This is the generalization arrow, inheritance arrow. What I can think of is that the student was thinking that first the registration process is happening, then verification is happening, then view course is happening, then select course is happening. I think this is the mentality behind showing this arrow. But this is wrong, right? You cannot connect use cases with this. This is showing that this is your parent class. If there is inheritance between two use cases, you are showing with the help of this arrow. ऐसे बताया ना generalization. This is one arrow, and suppose there are two use cases below this. So what does this mean? That this use case is having two types like this. This is the parent class, and these two are the base class. This is what I have told you. So based on that, if you see this diagram, this final circle, report of registered students, this will be your parent class. This will be the child class of this parent class. Then this will be the parent class for this child class, and so on and so forth. This is what is represented by this arrow in this diagram. It doesn't matter what you initially thought that these arrows representing, but an arrow is a generalization part which you are showing. There is another arrow which is directly association. Association is this between an actor and a use case. This is your association. But you can also show a directed association between an actor and a use case. What is the difference between this directed association and this association? This second association is showing that either, see, that is why I haven't told you these two differences explicitly, because in use case diagrams these differences doesn't matter. Why? Because this association, this single line without any arrow, this means that either the user can initiate the process or the use case can initiate the process. Means data can flow either in this direction or data can flow in this direction. Both are possible. And this directed association tells that data will flow only in this direction. So why in the use case diagram it doesn't matter, and they are of less important, and we only generally prefer this association without any arrow. Why? Why this is not important in use case diagram and this is important, or it doesn't matter also, you can use them? Tell me why. Yes, because if the data is flowing in both the direction, that is useless with regard to use case diagram, because this use case cannot initiate on itself. To initiate a use case, you need an actor in a use case diagram. So that is why it doesn't matter you are showing directed association or you are showing normal association in use case diagram, because in a use case diagram only the actor can initiate a process. A process cannot initiate itself. Either you need actors, primary actors, or maybe in sometimes secondary actors can also initiate, but especially if that secondary actor is suppose a timer and you are monitoring a system, then you can say in some cases, but generally no. You need an actor, and that to a primary actor, to initiate any process. So this direction is useless. Got it? So there was no need to show these arrows. No need to show these arrows. If you have shown that student is associating with register, a student is associating with verification, student is associating with view codes, it means that the student will do everything. But what I told you in use case diagram, you don't have to show the sequence. Generally, you keep the sequence in a logical order, like first use case login, second use case he will do next, but you don't show a link between them, because then that link on paper will be differentiated like this. You are performing inheritance, though you wanted to try that, okay, after this first use case, this second use case is coming. Your intention was this only, it's fine, but this is not how it works in use case diagram. If you are showing any arrow of this kind, it will be treated as inheritance only. So you need not show these arrows to show the process. You can directly make one use case here, second use case here, without any connection between them. It is fine. In a use case diagram, we are not concerned with what is happening first, what is happening second. We are not concerned with that. Next major issue with this diagram is all these things. B2 guys will not understand this, but all the B1 students, in the question, it was mentioned anywhere that you have CSE branch also, you have to include civil, you have to include mechanical. Was it mentioned? It was not mentioned, right? So unnecessarily it is making your diagram complicated. What I've told you, you can include something extra apart from the question, but only if that thing is first not complicating your system, your system is looking clean, and second thing, it is giving you some extra information. But here, just read this thing. A student is viewing a course, वो एक course देख रहा है. अब whenever he is viewing a course, okay, अब उसने registration कर दिया. Now he is viewing a course. Suppose he registered for CSE department in the first step itself. Then if he is viewing the course, you are showing him civil department also, you are showing him mechanical department also. What is the need? No need. If he has registered for CSE department, he will view only CSE department course. So at most you could have included this, और वो भी जरूरत नहीं थी वैसे. Make your use cases very, very simple, and don't make unnecessary includes and extends also. Okay. So these were some of the things that are common mistakes. Technical mistake is there, for example, that we will discuss later. For example, this result, because B2 students don't know this question, so I'm not going into very technical details right now, but these are some very basic details. Technical details तो फिर भी एक बार के लिए ignore करके faculty will give you marks, no issues. If you have tried this much, you will get some marks. And see, don't think that you are making this thing in your lab only. Exam में भी यही सब आना है. These all questions are for 10 and 20 marks each. एक क्लास डायग्राम का क्वेश्चन वुड बी ऑफ 20 मार्क्स इन योर एंड सेमेस्टर, एंड ये आने ही है. इसमें कोई ऐसा है ही नहीं कि ये नहीं आना है. यू विल गेट अ यूज केस डायग्राम क्वेश्चन, यू विल गेट अ क्लास डायग्राम क्वेश्चन, यू विल गेट एक्टिविटी डायग्राम क्वेश्चन, सब आना है. Okay, so don't think that this is just your lab syllabus, this is your theory syllabus also which you are doing. And in theory on paper you have to draw this diagram. So what bare minimum you have to do is, firstly, make it very simpler so that it can be easily understood. Don't add unnecessary details if it is not mentioned in the question. Okay, and just keep 4 relationships in mind which I have told you. उसी पे सारे बन जाएंगे diagram use case. You don't need anything extra because there are other relationships also. For example, there is a relationship. Suppose this is one use case. So there is a relationship known as dependency. If you see in your star UML ऐसे dotted dotted एक line गई होगी and there would be a arrow. Include अलग है. Include के लिए it is explicitly mentioned in star UML that this is include, this is exclude. एक अलग से line होती है ऐसी. It looks like this dependency line, but that is not needed. Okay, in use case diagram all these things are needed in the class diagram which we are going to see. वहां पे relationships बढ़ जाएंगे अभी हमारे, तो वहां पे complications भी बढ़ जाएंगे. But the class diagram is the very first step. You have to be very specific and simple about it. जितना simple से simple हो सके. Got it? Any doubts in this? बाकी यहाँ पे थोड़ी टेक्निकल इश्यूज भी हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल दिस रिजल्ट, इट वाज मेंशन दैट स्टूडेंट विल आल्सो सी द रिजल्ट एंड फैकल्टी विल आल्सो सी द रिजल्ट. So it doesn't mean that faculty has to like this. See this. This dotted line is going here. This is neither include nor it is extend. So this is a dependency relationship according to star UML or according to UML. This is a dependency relationship. So I'm not sure whether intentionally the student has mentioned this or he forgot to add include here, but whatever it is, it was not needed because in the question 2 use cases were given. One, the faculty has to prepare the grade sheet. This was one point, and another point was student and faculty both can view the result. B2 students, don't worry, you will do this in tomorrow's lab. And second case was student and faculty both can view the result. So this prepare grade sheet is a different one that you are connected with faculty here, but this is not related to seeing result, right? You will connect seeing result with student and faculty both like this. So these things will come with practice. They are not important. Important was this. First, don't make it very complex. Don't add unnecessary use cases, and don't add any relationships randomly. ऐसे कुछ भी relationship नहीं बनाने. Got it? Any doubts? Anyone? Okay. And just keep this thing in mind, everyone. Don't ever submit me any plagiarized content. You do it honestly, whatever you can think of. I will give you marks, no issues. In the exam also, I don't give marks for your 100%. Marks will be given for what you have tried. If you have tried honestly, definitely you will get marks. But don't do this kind of stuff. Chalo, now coming back to the class. So before starting class diagram, I think the last time we were doing cohesion and coupling, right? Was it finished, cohesion and coupling? नहीं, finish नहीं हुआ था शायद. Yeah, it was not finished. So just let's see this. This is not a very important topic, but you should keep this thing in mind for one theory question at least. So see, what was cohesion and coupling? First, we have seen the modularization, right? First term was modularization. Modularization means if you have a big software, suppose the security system software or Amazon e-card system software is there. So you divide your big software into small modules, individual modules. For example, login module will be different, products module will be different, authentication module will be different, payment module will be different. And these modules try to keep them as independent as possible so that they should not interact with each other. So that isko ek software engineer ko you can give this to one software developer, you can give to one software developer to code, and you can give this to one software developer to code, so that the work can be done parallelly. Okay, as much as possible. Definitely in real life it is not possible. They are interlinked to a large extent, but you try to keep this. Modularization is the concept that tries to keep them independent. Then we have seen that suppose this is your module 1, and suppose this is your module 2, and suppose this is your module 3. Means suppose this is your login module, this is your products module of your whole software, and this is say your payment module. And inside this login module, there are some small components also. Okay, for example, suppose this is component A, this is component B, this is component C, this is component D, component D. You can take a note of it. Okay, it is not in the PPT. Some of its content is in the extra PPTs I have given you. In your Blackboard, there are two things I have mentioned. One is the class PPT, in which whatever I am teaching in the class, that PPT is uploaded, and other is the extra resources. In the extra resources, there is again one more subdivision, that is extra PPTs, in which whole subjects PPT are there already uploaded. So in that, in the introduction part, in the last 2 or 3 slides, something is given regarding this cohesion and coupling. Okay, but still whatever I'm teaching you, just take a note of that. Even if you write this will also work. Okay, so I've divided my whole software into 3 small components. Okay, now if suppose this component A is interacting with this component B, means I'm making some functions in component A that are for which I need variables in component B. I'm making some parts in component B for which I need the help of component A, or something or the other. So they are interacting with each other. So this is known as cohesion. This is known as cohesion. So when C and D are interacting, it is known as cohesion. So intra-module communication. Intra-module means inside the module. If components are communicating or interacting with each other, that will be known as cohesion. And if these modules are communicating, module 1 and module 2 are talking to each other, they are sharing the data, they are sharing the functions, they are sharing their developers. If they are sharing the resources or they are communicating with each other, it will be known as coupling. And what is the basic concept of modularization? What we need more, cohesion or coupling? Cohesion, right? So the basic concept behind modularization is that itself, that you have to divide your software modules into, you have to divide your whole software into different modules so that the modules are as much independent as possible. Means we want to avoid this connection as much as possible. So the basic concept behind cohesion and coupling and this modularization is that we have to increase cohesion. Cohesion is like, this is your family. This is your family. This module 1 is your family and this module 2 is your neighbor. So it is possible that you don't talk to your neighbor. It's fine. Don't talk to your neighbor. But inside the family, there should be cohesion between the family members. So we have to, for any software, this is a generalized concept. Okay, a theoretical concept definitely, but it is a generalized concept that we have to increase cohesion for a software and we have to decrease coupling for a software as much as possible. This is the ideal case. Now there are a few types of cohesion and coupling also. Just take a note of with me. First, let's talk about cohesion. What are the types of cohesion? How can different components interact with each other inside a module? Cohesion means inside a module, components are interacting with each other. So first is functional cohesion. So functional cohesion, as the name suggests, suppose inside the module, inside the login module, there are two components. Those suppose are performing the same functions or they are needed for the same thing. For example, inside the login module, there is a add function and there is a subtract function, and they both are needed together. They both are needed for one particular thing to happen. Means they both are performing a similar functions to or achieve a similar goal. So that will be known as functional cohesion, and we will place these two components or these two modules in one block if they are performing the same task. Okay, if three functions are performing or three components are performing same task, we will place them inside one module, right? Next is sequential cohesion. As the name suggests, what does this sequential cohesion means? If suppose there is one component and the output of this component is going as an input to another component, and the output of another component is going as a input to another component, and so on and so forth, then we will place all these components inside one block. Basically what is happening here, just get a sense of it, a kind of encapsulation is happening. We are placing similar things together. Now they can be similar if they are performing similar functions. They can be similar if they are needed, if the output of one is needed as an input for other. Okay, so the basic essence is that what, because we want to increase the cohesion. To achieve the cohesion, we need components that are actually cohesive, na? That should be cohesive. They should be helpful to each other. Then only they can be placed together. So the types are these only. Okay. For example, functional type. If the function performed by 2 or 3 modules are same, we will place them in one particular block or module. If the sequential means the output of one component is the input to other component, then they are placed in one module. Third can be communicational. Third can be communicational cohesion. Communicational cohesion, again, for example, suppose this is one component and it needs 3 other components also. Simply put, inheritance. Okay, or not always inheritance, but if this is one component and it is using 3 other components to fulfill its goal, then we will place all of them in one module. Again, a similar behavior they are performing, or they are needed to achieve one particular function. So we have placed them in one module. नाम से पता चल जाएगा, functional same functions, sequential output of one as an input to other, communication if one is trying to communicate 3 others or more others or whatever, so we will place all of them together. Then is procedural, fourth one. These things you have to write. Okay, that is why I'm telling you the name. Okay, if a question comes regarding coupling and cohesion, so you can draw that diagram which I showed you in the last page. Just explain in one line what is modularization, what is coupling, what is cohesion. We need cohesion more, we need coupling less, and these types of cohesion and coupling just mentioned. Finished, nothing else. Okay, fourth is the procedure. Procedure simply means if this is second component, this is first component, then this second component will start only after this first component is completed. This is different from sequential. In sequential, this second component needed the output of first component, but here it doesn't need the output of first component as per se, but it needs that at least this first component should stop. It should be finished. Then only I will start. Okay. For example, authentication. It will start only when the person has logged in. So this is procedural. Fifth can be temporal. Temporal means if suppose there are 3 components or 4 components in your software module. Okay, in your whole software, suppose there are 4 components. What we are doing here, if you think, we are making modules, right? I have told you, in modularization, we try to achieve maximum cohesion, minimum coupling, for which we have to divide our whole software into modules. So how you will divide software into modules? This is what is getting explained by this, that if your some components are performing same functions, place them in one module. If the output of one is needed in other, place them in one module. If one component is interacting with lot of other components, place all of them in one module. If one, that is how you can increase cohesion. Now that is, if you place these 4 in one module, then always these 4 will be interacting. The cohesion will be very high, and that is what we want to achieve. So we are trying to identify different properties. The properties mil jaye, we are placing them in one module. So what does this temporal means? Temporal means suppose at 10 a.m. both this login and authentication should be completed. Means at a particular time, some components are happening only at that particular time. So we know that this component will take 2 hours. We know that this component will also take 2 hours. So they are taking same time to getting executed. So we'll place all of them, which are taking same time to execute in one component, in one module. And last one is coincidental. Coincidental means outliers. Okay. For example, you have made all the modules. You have divided your whole software into different modules, but a component reh gaya, and this component is not in any of the modules. Neither this is related to functional, sequential, communication. This is not matching with any of the properties of any other component. So where you will place this component, in which module you will place this component? So coincidental says just place it in anywhere. Okay. It is random, anonymous. Okay, so if something is an outlier you understand na, that is not related to the data. Outlier is something that is, for example, outlier you understand or not? For example, suppose we are recording height of some students. एक की हाइट है सपोज 10, दूसरे की हाइट है 11, तीसरे की हाइट है 12, फिर है 9, सडनली एक हाइट आ जाए 80, तो पिक द ऑड वन आउट. व्हाट विल बी द आंसर? What will be the answer? 80, right? So 80 is the outlier. So 80 will be an outlier. If you do any machine learning project, the first thing that you have to do in the data is you have to clean the data. You have to remove those outliers. So the same thing is here. If there is any component that doesn't belongs to any of the modules, or that doesn't matches with the properties of any of the modules, you can place it anywhere. कहीं भी place कर दो, doesn't matter. कुछ modules साथ में होंगे components, उनके साथ place कर दो. See, temporal means the components that are taking same time or they works at the same time. Okay, for example, suppose there is a component man A, there is another component man B, and suppose they both wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. and start their duties. So you have got one property or one cohesive property between both of them, that they both, इन दोनों में और कोई similarity नहीं है. There is no similarity between these two men. But you have identified one temporal similarity, that they both wake up at 6 a.m. and then start working. So based on this temporal property, means time related, temporal means time related, you will place them in one module. कुछ नहीं मिला तो कुछ निकाल लिया, kind of. Okay, so in the same way in a software, if suppose there are two components and they are happening or taking same time, or they work at once, they work at the same time, they are related to time, we will place them in temporal. And coincidental means there is one component that is not, suppose there is another man C, there is another man C, but this doesn't have any of the properties, neither it is having functional, sequential, communicational, procedural, temporal, इसके पास कोई property नहीं है. It is not, you have divided your whole software into blocks or modules. सारे modules बना लिए और सारे components को depending on their properties divide कर दिया. But there is one person remaining here जो किसी में नहीं गया. So he is an outlier. He doesn't belongs to any of them. So you can place randomly anywhere. जहां मन है वहां place कर दो. That is coincidental. Got it? Clear? Kshitij. So we have seen functional, sequential, communicational, procedural, temporal, and coincidental. Now tell me which cohesion is the best. Which cohesion you think is the best property? Functional or coincidental? Functional, right? Because in functional cohesion, you are placing similar functions, the components which are performing similar functions together, and that is the best cohesion. बाकी सब तो एक तरीके से जबरदस्ती निकाली गई प्रॉपर्टीज है. Definitely some are important, like sequential, एक का output is the input to second component's input, so they are important, but this is the best cohesion. So this is the best cohesion, and this is the worst. Worst why? Because यहाँ तो randomly place कर दिया ना, कहीं भी place कर दिया. So this is how from worst to best the cohesions are defined. Got it? Clear? Any doubts? Now let's see the types of coupling. Means now we have divided our software modules or whole software into different modules, and in every module there are components. They are performing cohesion based on their properties. Sub mein hai components, they are interacting with each other, performing cohesion. Now how can these modules interact with each other? Coupling. So the first kind of coupling is data coupling. Means suppose this is login module and this is authentication module. So authentication module suppose needs the data from login module. So that will be known as data coupling. Means module are interacting to share data between each other. Data share हो रहे modules के बीच में. Data is getting shared. Second is stamp coupling. Stamp coupling means now we are not sharing this authentication module and login module are not sharing data between each other. They are sharing the data structures between each other. Means suppose in the login module, you have used hash table to make a dictionary. So in the data module or data coupling, whatever is present inside the hash table, whatever are the components of the dictionary, exact data will be shared between authentication and login. But in the stamp coupling, login module will only tell the authentication module that, okay, I'm making a dictionary for which I'm using a hash table. That's it. It will not tell what is inside the hash table. So that is stamp coupling. Another one is control coupling. Control coupling means you want to have some control over the programs. And how you have control over normal programming languages, you set up flags. If you want to control the flow of your programs, if you want to check something, you make flags. Flags you understand na in a programming language. बल्कि मैक्रो पर भी पढ़ोगे तो उसमें भी flags you will set up. Okay. So control means flags, that milestone points. Only those flags will be shared between the modules, nothing else. Then is a common coupling. So as the name suggests, common coupling means whatever suppose global data types, global data variables you have. Okay, global data variables means which can be used by all the functions inside your program. So those global data variables, not local, which are local to login, that will not be shared. Whatever global variables are there in the login module, only those variables will be shared, or global data will be shared, whatever is global. And last is the context coupling. Context coupling means if suppose this is module C and this is module D. Okay. And if suppose I change module C, I change something in module C, and that change is reflected in module D also. Module D gets also changed. So that kind of coupling is known as context coupling. Means if I'm changing the context of one module, the context of other module is getting changed because of some internal data sharing, internal connection, something. But if I'm changing this, this is getting changed. Now, what do you think? Which is the best coupling and which is the worst coupling? Data, right? So data coupling is the best because see, in normal programming or normal software development also, you want to interact with other module only when data is required. अगर data required नहीं है तो बेफालतू में you will not try to interact. And which is the worst coupling? Context. Because if you change this module and this module is getting changed, the whole fundamental property of modularization that says that you have to be make independent modules, that is getting failed. So that is the worst coupling. So again, from worst to best. Have everyone taken note of this? Okay. So this was all about cohesion and coupling. Just a small topic. If it comes sometimes in your mid-sem, you can write. Okay. Lot of information is there. Fine. Okay. We have seen this use case diagram. Okay. This was a behavioral diagram, but we have seen in the very starting because this use case diagram gives you the first impression of your whole project. It helps the user and the non-technical persons to understand what is happening inside the system, and we can use this use case diagram at further other diagrams also. We can use this use case diagram to define or to use in some other use case in some other diagrams also. Okay, but now we will come back to the starting point, that is the structural diagrams. So we have seen that UML have structural diagrams and behavioral diagrams. When you combine structural and behavioral diagrams together, it is known as what it is known as. Remember? As a तीन एरो बना के दिखाया था ना बहुत पहले। अरे यार यूपी नहीं, इट इज नोन एज आर्किटेक्चर diagrams. Okay, if you combine the static parts of your system, that is structural diagrams, and you combine the behavioral elements or the dynamic part of your system, then the whole architecture will be created. Okay, so combining structural diagrams and behavioral diagrams will give you architectural diagrams. Now we are starting with the structural diagrams, and first with the class diagrams. So what we have to see, we have to read class diagrams, then we have to read object diagrams, then we will see package diagrams, then we component diagrams and deployment diagrams are your last module, final fifth module. So these two we will see at last. We will see class diagrams, object diagrams, and package diagrams. These two are not important. Got it? So now we will start with the class diagram first. So see, firstly, why you need class diagram? If अगर use case diagram बना ही दिया था, then why in the second step you need class diagrams? Think and tell me. What do you think? We need class diagrams now. Class is your same. The classes you use in your coding part. So whatever are the benefits of a class, the same are the benefits of a class diagram also. So what do you think? What are the benefits of a class diagram? Why do you think we need class diagrams? किसके लिए सबसे ज्यादा यूजफुल है क्लास डायग्राम्स? इन योर सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट प्रोसेस, फॉर विच स्टेक होल्डर दिस इज गोइंग टू बी मोस्ट यूजफुल? यस, राइट क्षितिज. So for which stakeholder this is the most important? This diagram is going to be most important. Is it going to be most important for the client who has given the project? Developers, right? For the client, he is not going to understand class and objects more. It is for the developers. Before the developers or the software developers starts coding any software, they first can create this class diagram structure. Okay, they can create, okay, in this software I need all these classes. I need these relationships between my classes. I need this kind of inheritance. I need this association. I need aggregation. I need composition. These all are relationships here. We will see that. So to create this class diagram or to create this software, I need these classes, these objects, these relationships between them. So everything will be drawn diagrammatically. Okay, everything will be drawn diagrammatically. So that before the software developer starts writing the code, even this can be converted to a Java source code also. But suppose seeing this, the software wants to, the developer wants to write a code, he can do it very easily. If on paper you have designed, this is like you are making the exact timetable. Like I'm going to read this thing in this many hours, and I'll use these books. So everything, the architecture, basically, if I use the exact word, this actually tells you the exact architecture, what architecture we are going to create for our whole software. The use case diagram was not telling us the architecture, it was just telling us the abstract behavior of the system. ऊपर ऊपर से बता रहा था बस. Now we will see what exact classes we need, how the classes are interacting, how many objects are there, what are the relationships between different classes. All those stuffs we will see in class diagrams. Okay, so you can use this word also, the classifiers in a system. Classifier means something which is separating or classifying different. Suppose this is my machine learning वाला classifier समझ लो. Okay, एक input दिया testing data and it is classifying it in say either dog or cat. You have given one picture to this classifier and this classifier will either put this in the dog or in the cat category. It classifies them. So this class diagrams, the basic purpose of class diagrams is to classify the overall architecture of a system. What architecture, what exact things you are going to use in the system. Got it? Now tell me, what is a class? What is a class? अरे यहाँ पे नहीं, वैसे what is a class? क्लास से क्या समझते हो? अरे यूएमएल भूल जाओ, क्लास से क्या समझते हो? व्हाट इज अ क्लास? Yes, describe a group of objects. What group of objects? Objects having similar properties. Okay, for example, suppose I have a lion, tiger, panda, okay, all these birds, tortoise, okay, rhino, all these animals I have in my zoo, these different kind of animals. So these are objects which have the same property. What is the property? That they are animals. For example, you can have a class known as car, and it can have different objects. For example, Maruti, Hyundai, BMW. So these are objects, means instances of class. ये होता कैसे रियल लाइफ में? You are making a class. Class is a dynamic thing. It is continuously happening, continuously interacting. Okay, suppose the class is this system. This is going. This is class. Say this line is class. And if I take a screenshot of this part, that will be a object. Okay, one particular instance in my whole movie. This is a movie that is playing. That is a class. If I take one particular instance or one particular screenshot of that thing, that will be an object. For example, this animal is my class. This is a huge kingdom. Anything is possible. But if I pause this kingdom, if I pause this at once and some loin came up, then this loin is the instance or loin is the object. Got it? Clear, huh? Object, classes. So classes are basically group of objects that have similar properties. For example, if I was making car, you were having Hyundai, you were having Maruti, you were having Suzuki. ये सारी types हैं और instances हैं, but they have the same property that they are car. Fine. So how we make class diagrams in UML? I told you initially also, we make this kind of rectangular box where we have three partitions. Basically fourth partition भी हो सकता है जिसमें you can write some extra information, comments, responsibilities, etc. ये सब भी लिख सकते हो चाहो तो. But basically we have three parts only. The first is the name of the class. Here you write the name of the class. For suppose animal. Animal is the name of my class. Then comes the next partition, that is this. This is the attributes. The second partition is the attributes. What does this attributes means? The exact properties. For example, this animal class has different objects. There is a lion, there is a tiger, there is a giraffe. Okay. There is some bird also, say some kind of bird. Bird will not come in animal obviously. और कोई animal कौन सा था? Dog ले लो चलो. Okay. So this is my animal class which has three objects, suppose lion, tiger, and dog. Now attributes, this second row tells what are the properties. We have divided animal class into these three objects based on certain properties. Na? So what are their properties? They are known as attributes, which are defining your objects. Look, whatever I'm teaching you here, this is applicable for all your object-oriented concepts, all your object-oriented language, and everything where classes and objects comes. Okay, even for your interviews, then we have talked about inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, etc. Now the next important thing regarding a OOPS language is the class and objects. So you read that, your OOPS concept will be covered automatically. Right? So first is the class name. Then comes the attributes. Attributes means on what basis you have divided your objects. On what basis you have collected these objects and put them together. For example, suppose this is my tortoise. Its name is something, its ID is something, its age is something. So this name, ID and age are my attributes. Attributes का meaning properties होता है, right? Attributes का literal meaning English में is properties. So what are the properties of all your objects? There will be another object, say lion. उसका कुछ और नाम होगा, शेरा. उसकी कुछ और ID होगी. He will have different ID. He will have different age. Okay, so means every object, either it is a tortoise or it is a lion or it is a tiger, everyone is having at least these three attributes: name, ID, and age. You can add more, you can subtract more, it's up to you. Okay, but at least they have these three attributes or three properties. So that is why in the second row, in the attributes column, name, ID, and age, we have put up. Any doubts regarding attributes? So for suppose you are drawing a class, say student, you are making a class student. So in the first name, you will write student. Then in the second row, that is the attribute row, what you can write? Tell me some attributes of the students. What you will write? Obviously, name will be there, right? SAP ID will be there, roll number will be there, age will be there. All these are attributes of the students. Okay, all these are properties of the students. So those will come in the second column. Okay. Now, while writing these attributes, okay, just wait. Once I have to refresh. Yeah, I'm audible. Okay. Yeah. So suppose you have written this name attribute. So you can put two dots and you can write the data type of the name. Okay. For suppose name will be string. So you will write string. You can write. This is not necessary also. You can just leave it at name also. That will be fine. It's up to you. It depends on the question. If they have mentioned something. For suppose you are mentioning ID. So the return type for ID will be integer. You have written age. The return type for age will be integer. Suppose you have one more attribute, that is address. So the return type for address will be string. So this is how you can mention the return types of the address also, or return types of the attributes. Okay. Now I have told you initially also, this is known as visibility in the beginning. When you are writing any attributes, in front of every attribute, you have visibilities. There are lot of visibilities, but the most important is this minus that defines what, public or private. Private, right? Minus means private. So what does private means? Suppose this is my class A, and suppose I made another class here, class B. So private means this class B cannot access this name, ID, and age from class A. That is what is meant by private. Another one is public. If suppose I make this name as public, ID as public, age as public. So it means if there are other classes also, suppose class B, suppose there is other class also, class C. So all these classes, any number of classes present in your package or outside the package also. Package you understand ना? First there is package. In Java जब भी programming करते होगे, start करते होगे, you create packages. एक package के अंदर बहुत सारी classes होती हैं, right? Protected. You understand protected private or not? I should tell you in detail again then once. Any confusion you have? Anyhow, I will be telling you. But you understand what is meant by a package? In a package, you can create different classes. Okay. Suppose this is package 1. So in package 1, you can have class A, class B, class C, class D. And this is suppose package 2. So in package 2, you can have different classes, class E, class F. So if something is private, suppose it's class A में, in this class A, this name, ID and age are private. So इसका मतलब है इस पैकेज के अंदर और दूसरे पैकेज के अंदर, in both of these packages, none of the classes can access these members. ये class B भी access नहीं कर पाएगा class A के members if they are private. Public means if suppose these name, ID and age are public plus, it means these classes of this package 1 can also access them, and package 2 classes can also access them. Public means it is public for everyone. So if something is public, it means whatever classes are present in this package, they definitely can access these things. But whatever classes are present outside this package also, they can also access these. Okay. Next is protected. Now I think some of you might be having difficulty with protected. Okay. So what is this protected? If I put hash in front of this, if I put hash in front of this, this means that these members have become protected now. Tell me what you mean by protected right now. I will tell you, but tell me. Any idea? अरे बताओ, थर्ड ईयर में हो सब. Any idea? Protected. They can be accessed by same package. Not fully true. Can be accessed inside other class. See, package means superclass can be accessed only by the subclasses. Yes, right, Gaurav. Can be accessed in subclasses of same package. Yes, Gaurav, right. Yeah, Shit is right. Okay, so protected means if it is somewhere in between private and public. ना ही ये पूरा प्राइवेट है कि कोई भी एक्सेस नहीं कर पा रहा है, none of the classes are able to access, ना ही ये पूरा पब्लिक है कि जिसकी मर्जी आ रही जहां से एक्सेस कर ले रहा है. It is somewhere in between protected. Protected says that suppose name, ID and age are protected, so it means these can be accessed either by this animal class only, or if suppose there is some inherited class from this animal, there is a subclass of animal. Suppose there is a tiger subclass, there is a subclass known as tiger. Tiger एक object नहीं, tiger की एक अलग से class बना दी है. There is a subclass known as tiger. Then this subclass can also access these three members. Okay, that is what is meant by protected. That either only the members that are present inside this class or only the functions present inside this class can access them, or the child of this class, subclasses, they can access them, no one else. Clear? So that can be represented with hash. For this subject, don't need this much depth. You just need to know that minus, plus and hash का मतलब क्या होता है, obviously, but फिर भी you should have idea that what is meant by. Got it? So these are the access specifiers. Okay, this is how abstraction is done. Abstraction का मतलब क्या होता है उस concept में? To showing only the important features of something. So how can you show only the important features using these access specifiers? If you think that this name, ID and age are not important to be shown to everyone, so you can make them private, that I will not show them to everyone. Whatever is important, only that thing I will show. So that is abstraction. If you think that these things should be shown to everyone, doesn't matter वो आपकी कंपनी पैकेज ए में काम करता है या आपकी दूसरी कंपनी है कोई पैकेज बी, treat package like a company. Treat a package like a company. Suppose you are working in company A and you have made this public, so it means company A में तो सब लोग use कर ही लेंगे. In company A, everyone can use these members. Also in different company, company B, that is a different package, वहां से भी लोग आपके इस डेटा को एक्सेस कर लेंगे. That is what is meant by public. And protected somewhere in between means the permission is only to those people who are your close relative, who are your child, who are inherited from you. Clear? So we will see methods. अब इसके आगे फिर we will continue in the next class. Okay, fine. Any notes? Okay, and your attendance is automatically getting updated on SAP portal. So I think right now there is some issues with there. So just keep on checking. I think it's not fully updated right now, but just keep on checking. And if there are any discrepancies, just tell your CR. He will inform me. अभी तो है वैसे अभी तो issues हैं, but just keep on checking also. And maintain 75% attendance. Okay, because everything is happening in the background. Your attendance is automatically uploaded on the SAP portal. That will automatically get uploaded on the SRE portal, and then they will release your admit card. So don't just, because I will not be able to help at last. Okay, if your attendance is below that. Chalo, fine. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.